That is just amazing. I've just never seen partridges come so close to the house. I mean, they're about, admittedly I'm in my kitchen, but they're about 3 feet away, 4 foot. Get a bit closer. They are a beautiful bird. Red-legged partridges. Well, welcome to the Pleasure Dome. I don't know what the date is, 29th of April. It's just coming into May. The one good thing about this is these little hail balls, they land on the pots like this. And as they melt, they slowly release water, which is quite handy. Now there's Thomas is just doing a really nice plant here. I don't know what he's doing there, he's fiddling with himself. You see, kissed it there. Yeah, it's a little Solomon's little variegated polygonatum. Very, very pretty. The problem with these polygonatums, these Solomon silges, they can get attacked by them bloody sawflies. And they, you need to just keep an eye on them. Little bloody caterpillars. Shred them overnight. Bastards. This is the last of last year's nibs from Thomas's work. We're just waiting for them to break into life and get them potted up and out the way. Is this the last of them, Thomas?
Last of what?
Your nibs?
Yeah, well, I mean, all the crops, Liz's nibs and Hostas are Helen's nibs.
Right.
Exactly, there's very few of my nibs left.
No, well, there's nothing like... Are their nibs better? Ladies' nibs. Are the ladies' nibs better than yours?
Well, the ladies' nibs are different to my nibs, and not to blow my own trumpet, my nibs are superior nibs. I've got to say.
That's a hell of an haircut you've had there.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
gone
like,
for a bit of a mullet.
Well, it's more like a sort of an attempt at a Mohican, and a razor broke.
I mean, it's not really a Mohican, it's
well,
a little mullet.
It's not a mullet.
It's going to be a mullet, look, it's longer at the back.
Well,
I'm not going to have your traditional, like, blooming Jason Donovan mullet, for God's sake.
Did he have a mullet? That's not what I think of as a mullet.
You think there's a fish?
Yeah. Have you actually seen a mullet fish? You can see where it comes from if ever you look at a mullet fish.
Yeah, I know what I mean.
This is a very old Kansan cherry, flowering cherry. You can see it's really, really coming into bud now. It's going to be cracking when it comes out. But these days we graft onto a cult rootstock because the vigour of the cherry and the roots are quite similar. In the old days they didn't. Now I've forgotten what they used to graft on, but I think it was just a wild cherry. And you can see how, although the two are the same age, there's the trunk, the rootstock. The Kansan itself is much thinner, so it sort of looks out of balance. It will have been top worked somewhere here. You can see there's like a knuckle all the way around. but totally out of balance with the bole thickness, the thickness of the branches. It's quite attractive in its own right with that lack of balance, but whatever, it's still a fantastic, absolutely fantastic tree, and it just loves it down here. The Orcuba, this is the spotted laurel, sometimes people call it, and it's the ideal position for it. It really likes to grow under a tree. It's in shade, it sort of comes into its own. We'll look at this again in a couple of weeks when it's in full blossom, because it is quite lovely. Well, we've got Helen sorting out the front of the shop for the weekend. It's a cold weekend due, but we are just a bit depleted of stuff. A few bits and pieces here and there. Oh, she's replenished the trilliums, which is quite good, but we need to do what we can with what's in flower and looking good at the moment. The reason that the children haven't been in the reason Thomas and Clara and John haven't been in the last video is because they've been busy with these. That's a hose pipe I've left on. Bedding plugs. We have masses and masses and masses of them. And because we grow the more unusual bedding, the more unusual sort of half-hardy annuals, we try and get ones that you won't get in packs of 6 in the supermarkets or garden centres, and then we grow them into hefty plants for instant effect. It's just the way we prefer to do it. And because we're not a garden centre, we just don't want to be selling 6 packs of mixed things, so people can choose and decide what colours that they want. Some of these petunias are scented. They all have to have these horrible labels in, but it does show people what the colour is. The fact is, even though they've got coloured labels, it is quite important, because they show that you've paid the PBR, the royalty that has to be paid on all of these bedding things. You're not allowed to propagate the vast majority of them now. We've got a few thousand more due in yet, and a lot of newer perennials, again, which have PBR on and we're not allowed to propagate. So that's why we use the labels, even though we don't particularly like them. I like a nice written description, but that's me, and I'm a plant collector. Other people, they just like to see what the plant looks like and the colour of it. There's not a lot of humour in the labels. Some of them just have, they just have icons. Yeah, anyway, here's geraniums, pelargoniums, fuchsias. We'll try again, we've tried to get the more interesting ones. They are nice. Lobelia, now we do these, like we grow up nice little ready-to-go pots, and we'll do them at 50 pence, something like that. But there'll be 2 plants in a pot, and maybe 3 plants, and they are, they're another month on these, and there'll be hefty plants. There's a popular thing, nasturtiums. You wouldn't believe it, would you? Osteospermums. So this is what they've been busy with, and they're busy. Well, these are our own lupines, the glamrock hybrids. They're doing very well. They'll grow at a fair old rate. soon. They take a long time. I think we put them on the last video, and I was suggesting that you pull out don't always keep the stronger one, where you get a range of colours. For example, there's two there. There's a nice strong one and a smaller one. They're bound to be different colours. And here's a strong one. So I suspect, and you can see some of them in the stems, different colours as well. If you want the variation, you've got to have a variation of young seedlings. So this is what they've been up to. John this morning is sorting out vegetable seeds, and we'll plot those up and they'll go into the one of the tunnels to germinate. I've had requests to do the vegetable pots again, which I will do. I'm just a bit late with it this year. The Delavei is still looking nice, and that's what they've all been up to. Let's go and just nip round to the potting shed. Radio's on. I'll get into trouble if there's anything on the radio. No, Helen forgot to, well, Helen did this the other day after I'd filmed it, and I actually forgot to have a look at it afterwards. There's always a problem that there's not much this time of the year looking that great, but she can still seem to make a display out of nothing. We have Doronicums and phlox, brooms, spirea, snow mound, I think. Beautiful. It's arguta. Yeah, the little spirea arguta, very reliable. One or two ceanothus. Some of the more unusual daffodils. We do these in quite large pots. Berberis, and a good supply of trilliums still. Dicentras, bleeding heart. So we just have to try and make a display as best we can to give people an impression of what they can have in their garden. Of course, these are young plants, they're not mature clumps or specimens. Dwarf rhododendrons, sedum Cape Blanco, wonderful little thing for the edge of a rockery or a wall or something like that. Potentilla verna, that's the spring flowering potentilla. Yeah, fucking horrible. Anyway, it's just a question of trying just to display some of your best products. Often this time of the year, because we're quite a large site and it's very cold, people don't like to walk around and look for things. They just like to come in and buy something they see on site. Then go and have a cup of coffee, hot chocolate, think about coming back in, decide it's too cold and go home and watch telly. Quite a lot of people are like that. I don't blame them. I think I would as well. It was freezing here yesterday. It was 4 degrees all day, -3 at night. No wonder stuff is just sitting for a bit. Everything a week or so ago was quite lush and it was just starting to move. And now with these night temperatures, these frosts, it's just hold itself up, as if to say, bollocks to that, it's too bloody cold. I'm going back to sleep. But very soon it will get warm. I'm told by next weekend it's going to be warmer. Right, I thought this week we might have a little trip down to Dorset. Matthew's had a very trying time, so let's call in and see how he's doing.
Here's Maggie. Hello, mate. You want to come play, don't you? But you have to stay on your lead. Should we show them the border? Yeah? So, the last week or so we've been busy planting up this border. It looks better in real life, it does on camera. With our stock plants. This used to be a tunnel and just various items that were just left there. Including my bike from when I was 12, which was buried in the ivy. But yeah, so we've dug all these stock plants in. We've got emerald lace, the green one. Benny-Tussacaza. I think they're red emperor in the background. We put 3 together because they're quite naff shape, so they'll grow up as one. There's Jordan, the lime green there. We've still got some spaces to fill in. We've got Goldsmith, Cotoito Comanche, I think, is the linear lobum one. Pixie and Skeeter's broom. Ornatum. They just look like a mishmash, probably. You can't. But yeah. It's just so we can use these as stock plants when we start grafting. They've been in pots for years. I think that's a Palmatophidium down there. Yeah, they've been in pots for years and we've just been taking bits off of them for grafting, but now they're in the ground they'll actually do something. Then if we go around this side, oh, over here we've got the deer have been cruising along all the aces, and if you can see, the first couple of feet have just been eaten by the deer, which is very annoying. He hasn't quite, well, I'm not going to say it, I don't want to jinx it, about the new border. This is the drive as you come up the nursery. So we've planted this, I'll just turn around. Planted a Beniotaki there, a big bloodgood, and then we've planted this bit up too. Again, for our stock plants, massive Tamakiyama there, which isn't quite in leaf yet. That one there. Can't get my finger in. That's what she said. That's what he said. Yeah, sorry. My smutty mind. Yeah, anyway. This took us, we did it before the winds. We had a lot of wind this week. So we did it before the wind. But there you go. Pretty. Oh, look at those autumn moon over there. One of my favourites. Right.
This is what we started potting, started potting, this is what we've been potting this year. We started the first week of February and we've now potted 44,000. Everyone in the trade has had the same sort of problems really, the COVID of last year, where we were all shut down in the spring and didn't really know whether it was the end of the world or not. When we got back to sort of potting, it was middle of June. And in the hope of supplying one of our major customers with probably 15,000, yeah, they would have had 15,000 plants by now. We did a lot of very late potting.
Panic potting.
Yeah, knew it was a gamble. And this is the result. Each one of these trays holds 30 plants. There's 8 in each pile. So that's 240. And if you add them all up, that's 8,000 dead plants.
Because they
were potted so late, they just didn't come through the winter. So, I mean, we knew it was a gamble. But the knock-on effect of the COVID, and it's not just us, everyone in the industry is having similar or certainly problems from last year, is an inability to supply people with plants that they want now. And this is the main time of year. Spring is the busiest time, obviously. So we've lost all those sales for this spring. And obviously we lost a lot of sales last year because we were all shut down in the spring. So that's 2 years on the trot.
And it's cold.
And as Laura just mentioned,
I don't know if I can hear you.
Just to add insult to injury.
He's saying just to add insult to injury. Look, but look at these. These are Aulita's pots, seedlings. Now they look great. Autumn moon. Stock plants.
I mean, these are plants that were potted back in February.
March, April, May.
Just places. Normally by now, today's the 6th of May. Normally by now they would be up here. So.
Sorry, can you do that again? I was daydreaming and looking at the seedlings down there.
They would be up around here by now. But it's so cold, you can see literally they came into leaf, put their first set of leaves out, and they've just sat there. That's just adding insult to injury. So you've lost the initial sales because you didn't pot any last year for the spring, which you would have sold all of those by now, and you would now be tucking into these, which would run you all the way through until this time next year. So not only have you got the COVID, you're also going to have no sales for May, and they might be ready by June. That depends if it warms up.
What? They're the Japonica Aureum seedlings, aren't they?
No, that's the Aureums.
That's the Aureums.
Aconitifolium.
Aureums, Aconitifoliums.
Yeah. If you watched Malcolm's thing last year, we showed you these when they were in the seedbed. I think Laura did, rather.
I didn't realise the Aconitifoliums had done...
They're quite interesting because they're Japonicans, but a lot of them...
They're cool.
Are like sort of like dissected leaves, which is...
Weird. You get a lot of weird things around here.
Grow them on for about... Well,
like
after I'm dead, Laura will know if they're worth propagating or not.
Yeah.
So that's the moan anyway.
That's the moan. Matthew's at his moan.
But it's not, I said it's not that we're the only people in the industry.
It's very hot in here now though. Look at that. Sorry, just take a minute to appreciate the colours on that. I don't know if the camera can quite do it justice.
It does feel very warm in here at the moment, but it's the cold nighttime temperature.
Yeah, it's not above 10 degrees yet, is it?
There's no temperature in the compost to stimulate root growth. It's not warm enough during the day to get it hot or warm.
To keep it warm overnight.
Yeah, to keep it warm overnight. It's just nothing's happening.
But again, pretty litres. Another thing which is slow are the seeds. We need to get out here and weed it. We're waiting for the weeds to get a little bit bigger before we start pulling them up. Because there's not really much to pull. But these are the seed beds that Matthew and I did February maybe. And so they're just the seed, same as what Matthew was saying about the seedlings being potted. They came up and they've just sat there. They've only just started to, I don't know if you can see, it's quite, there you go, they've just started to put on their second set of leaves, but these guys don't have the warmth of a tunnel at night, so they literally have, and this part of the nursery is quite exposed and it does get, oh, it's gone red, sorry. This part of the nursery is quite exposed and it does get a lot of the frost if it's going to frost. That's one's left from last year. See? There's the border from this end. Yeah, sorry, I'm not very good at this, am I? Cameraing. There's the old shed, and then we've done a bit of clearing down here. I say we, I went and had a baby, I've done nothing. There you go. Big wisteria, that is a beautiful wisteria, which will come out soon. Panning back.
Panning back. You're actually walking backwards.
Yeah.
This is quite encouraging. Well, actually, it's more than quite encouraging. In 2019, we spent 3.5 weeks. That was 6 days a week. And most of the time, it was 2 people picking seed. And that was enough seed for 2 years. Last year, we spent 2.5 days picking seed. So this year, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen so much flower. I mean, the amount of flower on the aces this year is really quite incredible.
The bees have been going crazy on them.
I mean, providing we don't get any hard frost, which so far we've been lucky we haven't. We've had a few tickles.
Touch wood.
So hopefully this year will be a really bumper crop again.
And the wind. That's the Trompenberg up there. Yeah, we'll be busy.
Some varieties never have flower on. Yeah, things like Okashima, you never see a flower on that.
What's on here? What's that red one there? Bloodgood.
What, that one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, you can't tell these. This is red on red.
There we go.
You probably won't show on there. Oh yeah, just there you go.
Never seem to get so much flower on the purples. Purple dissecting.
Shindosoja never gets any, does it?
only ever seen it once, about a dozen.
Huh. Why is my child screaming? Space! Space! Matthew's just cleared this. It was full of old seed beds. We're going to turn it into another retail tunnel eventually. But he just cleared it and get off. Go on! Go on! Go on! Run! No, she's not silly. I got sick of tears.
I think it might be a bit past sick of tears this one.
We look after our plants here. He'll be alright, he's just rooted through a bit. He's been in the pot for some years. No? Keep him watered. Where's the baby?
Fucking bonsai root pruning.
Yeah.
You're a fucking weatherman, man.
Yep, I am. Oh, customers. Quick, hide. Bang on. Bang on. My baby. I've been growing this on for about 12-13 years and I refuse to sell it, so now we're going to plant it. It's an ordinary Acer palmatum atropurpureum seedling. Finally set free.
Set free?
Set free, yeah. They scream to be let out, some of them.
I think you've been let out too.
I need locking up.
Well, you turn up, I'll put it in the old.
Oh yeah,
Fucking in the way.
dealing with my child.
No, that's bent law.
You're bent. Don't film me, I'm hungover.
I thought you didn't drink.
Yeah. When I get one sometime.
It's the first time you've been out with your friends since the first lockdown, isn't it? Oh, I'm going to have to put this down because I need to show you which way it's got to go.
Ow, my arm.
Hold on. say? That's water to the tank, isn't it?
Well, after don't know how many years since Father pulled all the cables out the ground just over there with the mini digger, we've finally gone back to an automatic watering system. You can see this is all the stuff that's been potted this year, which is why we were desperately short of plants last year, and I've been desperately short of plants this spring. Most of this stuff will be going out in the next 2-3 weeks, I suppose, once they start to root round. And we've now got a whizzy watering system. Thanks to camera and irrigation. If you do need anything, these are ideal for home because they run off batteries. So if you want an automatic watering system in your garden, if you get in touch with camera and irrigation, and we're not sponsored, but they're very helpful. I just didn't want to dig a trench all the way down the drive just to have it run off the main controller, so that will cover it. And that's about all I can think to say about the irrigation system, to be honest.
Irritation system, because there's always something irritatingly wrong with it.
Something.
Yeah.
There we go.
Good job done.
Yeah, these are the trials of the nurseryman. It's really, really hard sometimes, this industry. It can be very unforgiving. Now, how about this little plant? This is Dodecathion. It's this is one that I'm grown for a couple of years. Very, very beautiful plant. Its common name is shooting stars, and you can see these lovely reflexed petals. That it's just a wonderful thing. The good thing is it likes a bit of sun. It will take a little bit of shade, but it likes a nice sunny spot at the front of, say, the front of your house in a bit of dry ground in your front garden. It responds well to dry areas. Well, that's what I've found anyway. It's just lovely. It comes up every spring, then it disappears in the summer, and you just wait for next year, and the clump gets bigger and bigger. You can divide it sometimes by division if you get down in amongst there. Another way that you can do it is from seed, and it sets seed quite readily, and growing from seed is pretty easy. So there you are, Dodecathion media, one of my favourites. These are selling very well now. Our autumn sown sweet peas. All different varieties, but they really are good plants. If you see them now, you'll pay 95p each for these. But they're so far advanced, and the people that bought them last year are all coming back for more this year, and I haven't got as many. But fantastic plants. Now if you go into a garden centre or something, you'll see about 10 germinated little seedlings in a pot. Much cheaper, but they haven't been kept over winter. They haven't got this magnificent start and this root. And we saw what they were like last year. They just flowered and flowered and flowered right through until the first frosts, or until I got fed up tying them in or picking them. Just picking and picking and picking. Look at that. That is a plant. Let's see if I can get it out. Put the phone down. There. That's not a germinated seedling. That's a full-grown, fantastic plant, sweet pea. And you're growing when you're growing, you might pay 95p, but when you're growing just 10 on a wigwam, and they're going to last the family all year. It's less than a tenner, isn't it, for a 10-pole wigwam? Absolutely wonderful. I would never grow sweet peas any other way. You can get away with spring sowing, they're fine, but they will never be of the quality and early like the autumn sown. And it's easy enough to do at home. we had them in the polytunnel this year, and they suffered a little bit. They really needed to be outside, but for us it's an equation between keeping them under cover and suffering a few losses because of the fluctuating temperatures or the bloody mice. Look. There's the boss going down there. Look, oh God. Look. Am I in trouble? No, I don't think so. Okay. We are going to make up one of the Hypertufa troughs. I've done one of our old ones that we were about 25 years ago. I put an alpine garden in one of those. The shallower ones are for alpines. This one we're just going to make into a sort of a spring trough, late spring trough. We're just going to crock the bottom. These are just some old pots. You could use lumps of polystyrene if you get them. It's just to make sure that the holes don't block up. The other thing you can do is when you put the trough on the ground, raise it up on a few little bits of slate, or you can work something out. It's not beyond the realms of half an intellect. Okay, what I'm going to do on the bottom here, I'm going to put a base layer of gravel in, again for drainage. It also stops, if any water does gather in there over winter, it stops it becoming quite so sour, and it's just a little base layer. There we go. And now we're going to put the we're going to about half fill it with compost. And we've got some pots here, some plants here that Lisa's chosen, not me, because I haven't got any taste. I'm not trusted with things like that. So I'll put that one in there like that, on that corner. This one is a little Veronica, so we're going to just wang that one in there. That'll spread over, and there's a little willow here, Salix boydii. It's a dwarf willow. It's really quite nice. And just keep that slightly proud. And we'll just off centre it, and then I'll put this spring bulb here. This is Comasia, Quamash. Let's get that in there. That's really just going to come up in the spring and flower before the other stuff. I've got a little phlox. Again, just want to cockle that back a little bit. Just bend it back to encourage it to trail over the... We're not burying them too deeply. We're just, we've got one other little sedum here. Don't know what it's called. Cape Blanco or Coca-Cola or one of the others. Probably Cape Blanco. And this one, again, we'll just put in this corner. Don't worry, these things are quite brittle. If a few bits fall off, they grow back in no time. It's like the rabbit of the plant world. Goes like hell. There we go. And there's no need to go too mad with the compost. What we're going to do is dress it in a second. And just fill around the little crevices. Just going to just take your time and just dibble the plants in, and then just level it off. You don't want the Nice little hand brush will do that. There's no need to be, yeah. It's not a massive operation, it's just like pretty simple. There's no need to get all farty about it and technical. Right. And then we'll just dress the top now. If you want to, you can just add, sometimes it's nice to add a piece of rock or something here, but I haven't been given one of those, so I'm not going to. Had I been, I would have probably done it. Then a good layer of grit. Don't be mingy with the grits because it really does help. And if you're too tight with it, what happens is it just looks cheap and nasty because it sort of, the soil pokes through and then it looks just like you've not done the job properly. These are alpine plants that sort of, especially in an alpine trough where the plants, they grow above the tree line, so they're sort of, they like sort of squeeze soil. With these it really doesn't matter that much, but it's still nice to dress them. And we're just going to lay that down there. Now remember that you are going to need some help with this to lift it, because it's going to be as heavy as anything, especially with this grit on it. And we'll now get that into place, even though it hasn't got a bit of rock in it. Now, miraculously, nothing to do with my sarcasm, I suspect, I've been given a piece of rock. So I'm just going to put this in at the front. It's just an old piece that's lying around the garden. It's just, you want it to look like it's been there for years. In fact, I'll probably spend more time, certainly the Japanese would, they spend more time placing the rock than they would the plants. I'm just going to just ease it in. Just re-grit it where I've dug out some of the compost and make it nice and clean again. And then just sort of push it around. The trick is to try and make it look natural and uncontrived. Not always easy. It sounds easy. I wasn't being disparaging about the Japanese. They actually really do study the landscape. You see how the grit and the gravel just top that off. Just a little bit more. There, now I'm happy with that. If we have a good look round there. We'll put that in place now, but I need some beef. Lisa, you're very beefy. I'm getting one of those looks. Okay, these two are done now. Now these are both Hypertufa troughs. They're using the same recipe that I've used. This one here, if you look at the colour of it, is the one that we filmed being made in the winter. It's perfectly all right. It will weather down. This one here, and people are not going to believe me when I tell them this. This I made along with many others on my front room floor or dining room floor when we needed a few bob. But it's weathered really well, and it genuinely is a brilliant substitute for stone. With this one, because it's alpines and they're all sort of farty fancy ones, I've labelled them, but the other one is really not so much a botanical collection, it's just a trough that looks nice in the spring, whereas these are really collectors alpines. That's it. That's the last time I'll be doing that. Down here, the garden is just full of alliums and daffodils and bits and pieces. Also nettles and things. The nettles will go on growing, but the alliums, once they've flowered, or already even before they've flowered, the bulb has usually built up enough strength for next year. So one of my options is, I'm not ready to deal with everything on these gardens now, is to trim the whole lot down, apart from any perennials that I think I can work with, or that I want. Trim the whole lot down. Only the nettles and ivy and stuff will come back through. I can then deal with that as and when it comes through, with no hindrance of killing off all these lovely self-sown cordylines and alliums. This down here is going to be obviously a new path which I'll work on over the winter, but I think to cut down and then just spray off any regrowth that's just the weeds. Now people say, oh, nettles are good for you in the garden. This is a country village. There are thousands and thousands of hedgerows and things for nettles. They're growing everywhere. We will keep some stuff down at the bottom of the garden when I deal with it later on in a year or two. But for now, we want to get what we're going to have as ornamental garden as clean as possible of perennial weeds. If you don't, you are just going to get into problems. The other thing, of course, to remember is that I'm going to be replanting with plants. At the moment, everything just flowers after one big hit. That's the problem. It just flowers, it's generally in the spring, and then it's just weed all through the summer. Now I'm going to be planting with plants that are going to flower throughout the summer and into the autumn. Therefore, as far as pollinating insects go, it's going to be far more beneficial for them. It's really important that. And the spring flowers will come back. I just need to get rid of these nettles. There's some giant hogweed in here somewhere, which I really don't want. There is lots of creeping buttercup. It's only by dealing with that regrowth that I can deal with them properly. It's a long job, but you have to do it in stages. And oh, there's Clara, dressed to go walking. Oh, look at him, what a pansy. How you doing? You're on film at the moment, so don't say anything rude. Clara's not having a good week this week.
Oh, no, it's yeah. We'll talk about it later because I need to get a picture of Loki after. Bless him, but he's okay.
Would you like to tell us what's happened to your...
I think maybe a different day, to be honest.
All right, Clara.
But he's...
Let's just go for a walk for now, shall we?
Yeah.
Last week I was talking about the plum blossom and how it was a really heavy year. This is a blackthorn. look, the hawk's been around. He's left a bit of a bird in amongst the blackthorn. That's an aside, I didn't realise that was there. It's been quite a heavy year. As I said last week, or 2 weeks ago, isn't it now? It's, I've never known it quite so, especially as we've had a lot of early frosts in the month. It's a lot of people don't realise the difference between May blossom and blackthorn. Blackthorn is quite interesting. It tends to come out first. It has well, I mean, they're both spiny, but it's a prunus, and it has the sloes on it. The sloe berries, them sour, hard little buggers that you get. People make sloe gin and sloe wine out of. Just have a look at these hedgerows. This is May blossom. It's hawthorn, crataegus, and you can see in here the buds are nowhere near broken yet. These hedgerows are really interesting. There's holly, elder. This is elder. There's some ivy, hazel. There's quite a lot of dog rose, but Rosa canina. There's brambles. Just look at this blackthorn. The hawthorn, the May blossom, if it wasn't trimmed back, it would just turn into a tree. But it makes, as you know, sometimes it's called quickthorn, and it makes a really good hedge. Slow blackthorn is a terrible thing. Years ago I was showing off to a girl and I jumped over a hedge and got a blackthorn right through my calf muscle. Yeah, it's got infected very quickly, and it had to be lanced, and I had to have all sorts of treatment for it. It was really painful, and it's notorious as for its poison in puncture wounds. Now look here, there's some hazel there coming. Yeah, these really are traditional English hedgerows. All the species are there, and they are so beautiful. Just so beautiful. We are very fortunate to live in this country. Some of it anyway. A short while ago, all of these hedgerows, the bottoms of them were just covered in snowdrops. Here's some of the snowdrop foliage, and there's great drifts of it all the way along this back road of Birmingham. And it's got all the usual things: nettles, dog mercury, celandine, daffodils, just wild grown daffodils, narcissi. There is so much to see. And it's only the 25th of April. No, it's not, it's the 26th, I think.
Loki, what can you see? I love you too. So I realised that I've been talking and haven't even been filming. So he's been sort of trying to move around in his cage. It's very different. But he's on morphine and he's on painkillers. And it's 20 to 6 p.m. and I just got back from the vets. And he's got bald patches where the pellets were removed. I've got 3 pellets, but one was just somewhere, I wasn't sure which eye, but it's right into the skull. It's buried into, well, not to this, buried into his little head, just where is above his eye or something like that, which will be very difficult to get out, so it's best to keep it in. And the other one went with his limb, so I've got 3 pellets out of 5 from the shotgun pellets, and now he's just sleeping, and he's a bit out of it and it looks rather different, but he's going to be okay.
Sat waiting for Clara to get her sandwiches because she's forgot. Oh my god, here it comes. Here it comes. There's a few cars in the car park today. It's quite quiet actually. It's very, very cold still. And here's some more perennials and another van load, and I think the tractor and trailer are coming back with more. Well, these are a lot of young perennials we've got coming in for growing on. This is just the beginning of them. There is quite a lot here and there and everywhere. This is Acergrycium. It's very wet here today, and hail and snow and all sorts, but when the bark is wet it does go this lovely light brown cinnamon colour. Looks really good. Because of the cold, everything is getting held back. Normally this old style Kansan would have been in flower by now, but the buds are just fat and sitting there but not opening. So we're expecting a big rush next week when it warms up a little. The festooned apple. That's looking interesting. There's quite a lot of, again, there's a lot of bud on it, but the growth of the grass, of the leaves, is just so slow at the moment. Never mind, we can only do what we can do with the hand we're given. There's a bit of lunaria. That's the honesty. That's in flower well. Does well, that. That's Red Eva, the elliptical shaped one. And there's an old comfrey, symphytum, I think. Probably Wisley blue. There's a Wisley blue and a Wisley pink. One's pink and turns blue, and one's blue and turns pink. But it's hard. They're funny, really. They do flower early and they're quite pretty, but they can spread around a lot. And I can't really differentiate between the two. Or is it Hidcock blue and Hidcock blue? I'll have to put that on a caption because I forget. Here's the other one. Yeah, look at that. That's probably the pink one. And there's the blue one. Yeah, I'm struggling as well. Oh, There's a different one still. That must be the pink. Yeah. I wish I kept my gob shut now because the pink one does look distinctly pink. Do you ever wish you'd not started something? Whoa! Apparently we got a whole day of this tomorrow. Oh. I don't know what it is, 5th, 6th of May, I don't know, something like that. Oh, bloody hell. It's got rid of the customers, that's for sure. That's lovely, isn't it? Look at that. Nice bit of tissue with sort of brownie bits on, left around the nurseries. People wonder why I try and avoid customers. Sometimes they all get tired with the same brush and it's just like a few. God, why is life so difficult? Today it is like a well-oiled machine again. Potting stuff up, moving it up, ready for growing on. Just is one of those things we have to do every year, and the sooner we can get it done and get it in place, the sooner we can get it moving. It's the same old thing. You want stuff to be moving. Keep it moving. It's the best thing for plants. It doesn't help in this type of year when we have these late frosts, because when you try and keep things moving you can't, because you get 4 degrees of frost. But whenever you can, it is just so good for plants. I'm bringing the ferns down off the wall as I take a tractor load up to the top of the garden. I'm pulling down a few more ferns. These have sat up on the wall all winter. We found it's a really good way of overwintering them. They do look crap at the moment, but we will get them potted up. Some of these will go from 3 litre pots into 7.5 litre pots because there's big powerful crowns on them. Some will just go into the next size up, but these, like these Diaries, look at the crown on those, deep down in there. There's fronds waiting to unfurl. And the Osmunda regalis, the royal fern. This is the normal one. Excuse the weed, they'll get treated soon. The Osmunda regalis are just starting to really pick up. But the other variety, purpurescens, you can see the normal Osmunda regalis leaf with the purple stems. Really is very, very effective. We're finding everywhere the birds are nesting and all our plants are getting covered in like sheep tails where they've been docked and the birds have pinched them, or sheep wool which they pull off of the wire or out the fields. So it's everywhere at the moment. Nothing's wasted, is it, in nature? Look at the depth of those fronds. Really strong. And there. And the hart's tongue fern, aspleniums, they've got another name now, but I can't ever remember it. It's just starting to wake up. This is a crested one called, is it cristata? Look at it's crested because the top of the leaf has this crest on it. What are you called? Asplenium. Scolopendrum cristata. Yeah, nice big thick heavy 3 litre pot. That'll have to go into a 5 or a 7.5. There's some young figs waiting to be potted up. Here's salvias. We do a lot of the really blue salvia patens type salvias. People use them as a main sort of plant in bedding displays. They go into 1 litre pots and we grow them on for maybe a month or so. And once it warms up, they really move along. Really good plants. Even these smaller ones, new series, cherry lips, amethyst lips, hot lips. They're all doing well. Over the course of the winter, we've left these Meconopsis, the Himalayan blue poppies up here. There's China blue and Lingholm and the Alba, the white one. Some of them are just coming into bud now, so I need to get those down. So there we go. These are some of the ones that we've lined out. A lot of these are perennials or alpines, so we'll have to give them a sprinkle up. They need just growing on for 4 to 6 weeks, and then they'll get moved up. Yeah, it's quite an enjoyable job. It's just a bit monotonous, which is why you haven't seen a lot of Clara or Thomas in these this week or last time, because they're just stuck doing all this sort of stuff. Just Clara during the week cleaned up some irises. They were covered in weed, and we have some quite nice varieties of iris. If I remember, I must try and film them when they come into flower. This is one, can't remember what that's called, but you can see they're just starting to bud up. You can see the flower buds forming there. Yeah, it is an endless cycle of work at the moment. Once the potting and the moving up is done, then we have to keep it weeded, watered, checked out, general husbandry. But at the moment it's all liners and plugs and trying to get stuff ready for growing on through the course of the season. And everything is held back. Even this blossom should be out by now, but it's there, but it's just closed up. It's the end of the day. Oh God, there's customers down there. I need to get this tractor away.
This has been another quite strange week in terms of partly the temperature. It's been about 2 degrees. It's really, really cold. And I've taken to wearing quite a fluffy sort of, well, leopard print, fluffy, furry coat thing, which appears to have entertained Malcolm. And just earlier this week he bought me a present. It was all wrapped up and everything. I'll show you it. I just hung it on this shrub thing so you can get a view of it. Now I know what you're thinking, because I thought the same, but it's a face mask, and it was very thoughtful of him, and I'll wear it often, probably mainly in the dark, but anyway, you know, kind thought, nice man. Now it is so cold that I've been waiting and waiting for the blossom to come out, because there's a poem that I really love about blossom. But, I mean, honestly, at this rate, it'll not be out till January. So I'm going to read the poem anyway. So some of the photos we've put to this have come from this year, but quite a few are from last year and the year before. So I hope you like it. The poet today is A.E. Housman, who's a British poet and based in, well, he was 19th and 20th century poet. One of his most famous works is a collection of poetry called A Shropshire Lad, and this is a poem from there. Loveliest of trees, the cherry now is hung with bloom along the bough, and stands about the woodland ride, wearing white for Eastertide. Now of my 80 years and 10, 20 will not come again, and take from 70 springs a score, it only leaves me 50 more, And since to look at things in bloom 50 springs are little room, about the woodlands I will go to see the cherry hung with snow.
Yeah.
What's going on here? I've been taking some photos to put on Instagram of the shade
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
You're not interested, are you? You want to say something about my coat, don't
I want
you?
I want to say that it makes you look like a sex worker, but
What do you mean you want to say it? That is exactly what you said to me when I appeared in it.
no, I said if you had another pair of legs you could open in the back room.
And then you came downstairs repeatedly and asked what you could get for a tenner.
Look, it's very tactile. Can I have a little feel?
Yes, of course you
You don't
can.
want to charge me, are you? No. You don't want to worry about it because I'm a sex worker too.
Really?
I really have to work at it if I have any thoughts like that. I retired years ago from such stuff.
Malcolm, we've had this chat, haven't we, about sometimes when things come into your head, you can leave them in your head. You don't need to say them out loud.
Yeah, but at my age you forget them.
Sometimes that's for the best though, isn't it? Just to forget it.
Were you going to say something sensible?
No, I was saying I was going to put some pictures on Instagram of what I found in the shade house. And then I
What
realised...
did you find in the shade house?
Oh, some lovely things.
What?
Some lovely... I'm not sure what they are.
Oh, well, we'll have to wait for the pictures then.
Yeah, wait for the pictures.
Is this going to be your musical pictures this week?
No, not necessarily. It's just an ad. It's a bonus.
Right.
Now that I'm dressed like this, I'm giving away some stuff as
What, like sort of like condoms and dildos?
I knew this conversation was going to go south as soon as I saw you.
And I thought that was your thermos this morning.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Bye bye.
It's always a joy.
Actually, well, I am now.
Are you?
Yeah,
I think
'cause
everybody.
I think that's it's really good. What you need is a little zip in the front of it.
Well, I can't talk that. I'm actually really touched by this gift.
Thank you.
This is one of the most thoughtful things you've ever done. It is meant for my mouth, isn't it?
It is meant for your mouth. It's meant to shut you up.
It's going to need to be bigger than that.